How to speak your wants without sounding needy. Very important for my men already in relationships and romantic relationships and who are struggling with this or finding it hard to be honest with their wife or girlfriend or partner. This conversation is for you. And you're starting to maybe shut down or withdraw or hide those wants and desires inside of you instead of speaking them out. This is also for my passive men out there who are dating and can't really express what they want just in the dating process with women. Very important because if you can't speak what you want, right, without sounding needy, you're never going to get what you want in relationship. And that's with anything in life. I remember this was a few years ago. One day I was in boxing class and I heard my boxing coach that was teaching the class. He said something about like closed mouths never get fed. Closed mouths never get fed. And it made me crack up because I swear I heard like my mom and my grandmother say this before, right, when I was much younger. And I was like, he's right. If you don't close your mouth and you don't know how to make a request, speak your truth, speak your want, especially doing it from a place of confidence, not doing it from a place of neediness and being attached to the result or the outcome or how she's going to respond, you're not going to get what you want. Especially where I live because I'm on the East Coast and the cities I live in, you got to speak up to create opportunity. That's not just in dating, in life, period. So when I was in this boxing class years ago and my boxing coach said that closed mouths don't get fed, I was like, he is so right about that. So let that anchor you into the theme for tonight. Speak what you want when you're in relationship with somebody, and you don't have to be a dick to talk about it. Hey, Javi man. And no, I can leave my mouth open. It's fine. It's a mouth. I'm talking. It's not going to be closed. That's the whole point of doing a live, to be in conversation. So if that's bothering you, you're welcome to exit the conversation. But anyway, back to my point at hand. So if you are unable to do that, then um basically if you sound needy, then there's a problem. Darius73, hello, greetings from Argentina. Blessings. Oh, so happy to have you here from Argentina. That's so awesome. So invite some more of your friends. I don't have a set time when I go live, but I do go live at this time. I have gone live around this time often. Hi guys, welcome. That's your screen name. I love that. Said hi. Welcome. So awesome to have you guys here. So, think back about maybe this isn't you, but maybe your friends have come to you and talked to you about this. Like they've been wanting to, they're struggling to say something to the girl that they are dating or that they're in a relationship with about something they want. Maybe they've been like hiding it or something they've wanted, they experienced in the relationship and then it like stopped. How many men out there are like holding their tongue thinking that their woman is going to go off or it's going to be a problem if they state that. Sometimes when you just man up to say it, you might not even want it, right? Depending on what it is. Like it can be like a want, like something you really like want and that helps you in relationship, or it could be like a desire, like a fantasy, that you think you want something, but you end up realizing you don't even want it that bad. You just want to be able to express this without being like judged, right? In your relationship. I remember years ago my boyfriend told me like a desire he wanted to experience and it never happened. But I think what he really wanted is to be able to be in a space with a woman and communicate that with me without me judging him. So, and I was like, okay, and I wasn't judging him. I was like, oh, interesting, right? That could actually really be a turn on. So it doesn't have to be, right? It can be something that you're kind of self-conscious about, like telling her, but maybe if you tell her, it'll deepen the connection between you two. It may open up ideas for your relationship. It may open up something that she never thought about and be like, oh, I didn't know, you were into that, or that was something you wanted because you never talked about it. You never said anything. So it's just like women can't read your mind, guys. Like you may assume because since we're so intuitive that we know like exactly what you want, but no, we don't know everything that you want. I think we all just sometimes based on gender, we can generalize what the other gender wants. But as I've always said here, that relationships and dating in general is also nuanced. It's not so black and white. So just because Tom desires, I don't know, a head rub when he comes home from a hard day's work and, is struggling to get that from his woman, doesn't mean that Robert is going to want the same thing. You guys are, yes, simple in many ways, but also you all have your individual wants and needs. So the lady Joshua, did he want to be sub? No, he didn't. Oh my God. That is so hilarious. I'm so happy you asked that. That like cracked me up. No, it actually wasn't a BDSM request at all. It was not a BDSM request. That was a great question though. No, he did not want that. He's actually a very dominant person and someone who, it's funny you said that because he actually somebody who was very powerful and usually like really powerful, like, and he was a businessman too. They might want that behind the scenes, right? Because they're used to like running their business and having so much responsibility and things like that. But no, he was not that type of dude. He was not that type of man. He actually liked to still be dominant in his masculine energy in our dynamic. So that is so funny you said that. So thank you, California for Trump 2020. Yo, what a screen name that is. I bet you get a lot of shit having that screen name, and I actually think it's so fun and so funny to have that screen name because it's something that can definitely strike a conversation. And talking about somebody being in their truth. Anyway, greetings from the Philippines. Hey guys, welcome. That's greetings from the Philippines. So awesome to have people here, men here internationally, and people here joining internationally just in general, since I'm in the US. So it's nighttime here. But one of the points I want to make and the distinctions I want to make, and thank you for chiming in and drop your comments and questions below. But the difference between needy energy and a man who has like very clear energy when he states a request, that's very important. And it sounds so simple, right? That you could be like, oh, Joy, I know how to talk and communicate clearly. Do you, based on your, when it comes to your needs and your wants? Like sometimes we can get shy or feel shameful or guilty when we have these wants, these needs, these desires, and we want to make that request to somebody we're in a romantic relationship with. So you definitely want to tune in if, when you're stating this, is it more from like seeking approval and wanting validation and being attached to that outcome of how she's going to respond? Or is it going to come from a place of core confidence where it's more masculine, grounded, clear, and direct? And you're not fearing the outcome at all, however she's going to respond, it is what it is. That could be an end of a conversation or not, depending on what you're requesting. But I feel like you gotta, if you're in a committed monogamous relationship, especially, you gotta be willing to constantly take that risk, because you can it's not even a risk of like, I guess, how she's gonna respond or what she's going to say. But you might be pleasantly surprised, or you may realize, like I said, this can be an opportunity for growth. This can be an opportunity for her to be like, oh, I didn't know that was something you wanted in relationship or with me or whatever. And it, like I said, it can open up a new conversation in your relationship depending on what it is. Like if it's something that's really deep and intimate and passionate and sexy. And like I said, it don't have to be that. It literally can be a simple request like, you know, I don't see you enough. You know, even in saying that, like if you come to a woman and you're like, uh beating around the bush like I kind of want to say this thing but blah blah blah, and you know, just get to it, just say it. Caveman, I'm glad you're in love with your life. Awesome. And I will even speak to that, like if you are in love with your life and you do have that confidence and self-respect and self-love around your life and how you're showing up in it, well then having a honest conversation with the woman you're dating around your needs or your wants and your desires shouldn't be something that's tough, shouldn't be something that's hard to come to, that has a lot of resistance around. But I know out, you know, there are men out there who like have shrunk when it comes to this. You know, I've even had men I'm friends with that expressed this to me, that they wanted to say something or they said something and it wasn't received well, and they might have mentioned it once or twice and it wasn't received well, or there was a lot of resistance in the response, or even not responding, more or less, the, you know, the girlfriend was reacting, and so it had them like shut down and withdrawal and be like, well, why bother? You know, granted, I'm not there, right? So they're telling me from their experience, but sometimes it can be just about your approach and the energy you're holding around it. Like, for instance, going back to the example of the guy I was in a relationship with, the businessman, when he came to me, something that was something like something, it was more intimate about like something he desired, you know, I didn't react. I really sat and held and just listened, really. And also was like, oh, this would be interesting. It's not right. You never expressed this to me before. And it opened up a deeper place for us intimately, even though, like I said, it never even happened. I think he just felt good and felt safe of being able to say it and speak it. And I didn't judge him for it. You know, I was very like responsive and warm and understanding that maybe this was something hard for him to express in the past. And like I said, no, it wasn't a BDSM request. Because somebody asked that in the chat. I think that's so funny. So I encourage you to empower yourself when you're talking about these things. You know, speak slow, speak grounded, but be clear. Don't be needy, like, you know, this, I have this thing, you know, even if it's just like a simple request, like, I want to see you more, you know, saying it like that. I like spending time with you. I want to see you more. I want to see you 3 times a week now, you know, now that we've been seeing each other and it seems to be getting serious. Like, I want to see you. I'm using that as a very, very simple example. Or 7 times a week. Look, whatever the request is, right, caveman? No one's mad at it. I'm not mad at it. If you want to have a woman in your life you want to see 7 times a week, that's up to you. Maybe that starts to be a conversation of like, well, maybe you can stay over here more or something like that. Or something like that. But I love the example. 7 times a week. Shit, that's a wife. Yeah, it's a person who's playing the wife, because if she don't have a ring and y'all have that agreement, she ain't your wife, honey. But I understand what you're saying. That's like a full-time full-time thing. So, but that might be the request, you know? Maybe you're at that point in your relationship with the woman you're seeing and you want her to move in and you've been afraid to ask. Or if you ask it in a way that's grounded, that's clear, direct, she may be like, oh, I never even thought you would want something like that, or I've been thinking that too, you know, but I didn't want to say anything first. It just may open up a different honest conversation and get you two on the same page. Not mine, still take care of her and her 3 kids and have 2 myself. Aw, I love when people like combine families and make a beautiful, happy home. Well, that's awesome, Mr. Caveman. I think that's beautiful that you two are creating that along with the children, with the kitties. So, like I said, ask with clarity. Don't be needy. You don't have to be approval seeking. If you realize that's coming up, that's something you may want to, maybe you don't, might not realize it in real time, but maybe it has, beforehand, but maybe it's coming up in real time. Take a few deep breaths and continue through the conversation. Or maybe you notice that's coming up after the conversation. Well, then that's something for you to work through internally, so that if you need to revisit this conversation again, your nervous system isn't getting so worked up. Your wife is the boss. You have no control, Mr. Caveman. I'm trying to go back. Oh, okay. Hi, Charles Daniels. Welcome. Um, this is a great example of where maybe the meetings of the mind can come in a relationship around location and where to live. That can be a tough conversation. So I'm a sub to you. I really don't feel like I have a dominatrix type vibe, but you're not the first person that said that to me. I used to, long story, but I'm gonna make it really quick and short in 2 sentences. I used to stretch men for a living. So before I was doing it, focusing on men for part of my own business, because I used to teach yoga, but that was another offer I had if they didn't want to do yoga sessions. So I would stretch men. And before that, I was a stretch trainer at this studio. And long story short, I had a few male clients that asked me, because apparently they thought I was so strong because I have to put my body weight on you to stretch you, right? And a few men have like insinuated asking me, was I a dominatrix because of that, because I was so strong, and like didn't have a problem with like wrapping them into a pretzel or something. Like I didn't feel sorry about it if they like cried like, Joy, it's too much. I'd be like, so I'm kidding. I would only do that jokingly if they were like, as long as they weren't being, hurt, or we not damaging anything. Obviously I had liability insurance as a practitioner, but still you don't want to like hurt somebody like that. So, and I remember one of my biggest clients for my own business when I was in more fitness, wellness, he was a yoga client and a stretch client. And I remember he was like, he was like, Joy, if you ever become a dominatrix, I'll be your first client. I was like, what is happening? What energy am I giving off that these men, like one dude literally secretly thought, I only had one session with him. This is when I was working for the studio. One man literally thought I was a dominatrix and would not believe me. I was like, I'm not a dominatrix. He started barking in the session. I was like, I did not ask you to do that. Like, please stop. And he just wanted to be controlled. And I was like, dude, can we just finish this stretch session? So a little funny tidbit about my past life and my past profession. Oh, the caveman says easy money. What do you mean? You in Pisces, or you're a Pisces? So I'm in love. Oh, she's an air sign. Okay, you're a Pisces. Okay. Never never got to touch them, just show them who's boss. I guess it depends on what type of dominatrix and sessions you're offering, you know? But yeah, some men do like that and have told me that I give off that vibe. So I don't feel that I do, but I can understand that because, I can be very comfortable in my masculine energy in some ways. Like in that profession, yes, I needed to be, because I had to use like my body weight and my strength to like stretch these men out. So it was a little bit of a like dominating energy. when it was happening, especially if they were very extremely, like if their muscles were tense and like shortened and they were very tight or stressed. It was a lot. And it can be a lot on the body and the energy. So, but thank you. Let's come back to the topic. Speaking about BDSM, the next point I wanted to make is like make sure your boundaries are stated with clarity. And this has to do with like your wants, right? And your needs, because when you're able to speak up about your boundaries with clarity, that's a way for you to show self-respect for yourself, for you to show self-love for yourself. And I feel, and I've experienced, when you are being honest with your partner or the woman that you're dating about your wants, your needs, your desires, it's a way for you to show respect for that part of you that wants that, and to not have to be feel shame or guilt or some type of way about it, just to honor what that is, regardless if you're going to get it or not. Honor what that is and be able to share that with the person that you're with unapologetically. Like I'm saying, you don't have to be a dick around it. It can be a really great conversation that you can open up, that maybe you two are due to have, and if it's done in the correct way, it can it can open up something deeper for your relationship, for your love, for your sensual connection and experiences, if it's something that's like more on that type of intimate level. But it doesn't have to be just like sex. It can be anything dealing with intimacy, even if you're just like, babe, sometimes when I come home once a week, I'd love like for you to rub my feet. I don't know, you know, anything. So, um, Caveman said, like, you open up to random MFs, like you mad strong in self love. You are so funny. I'm having so much fun with you. You got like a beach vibe. Thank you. Right, Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for the love, Mr. Caveman, and I reflect that back to you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for speaking your truth, and thank you for engaging in the comments. It's so awesome to have men who can be here and have a little bit of fun and have questions and comments and can speak from their experience, because I always say these lives are a conversation. It's not about me, you know, always talking, right? It's about us having a conversation and engaging with each other. And also when men share their experiences with in the comments with what's coming up for them, or even being willing to ask questions, then it gives other men permission to do the same. Because some people will come on here and just watch, which I have no problem with. I think that's awesome as well. If you want to be in the conversation from the observer standpoint. But I think it's awesome when a few men can be in the comments, like engaging, because it gives other men permission to do that, and making an example of how to do it respectfully. Because, obviously this is like my 21st live, that's I've been consistent with it, and some men have showed, or people have showed up here and like gone off the rails, right? Trying to move the energy to have me pay attention to their comment that has nothing to do with the conversation, or is disrespectful or rude, So it's awesome to have some like mature men in here who are benefiting from this conversation and adding to the conversation. So thank you so much for every guy who's doing that, and women, because women watch my channel too, and this is helping them indirectly. Maybe, if you're a woman out there watching, you're not thinking about these types of things, because sometimes when we're in relationship, obviously we're experiencing it through our own perspective, through our own eye lens, through our own experience. So sometimes we can make it all about us. But maybe, and even in this, stating your wants and needs without sounding needy, maybe if you can flip your mindset and like, I'm going to go into this conversation because it's not just about me requesting this want or speaking, this want to her. How can I serve her in doing this? you know, and one way you can serve your woman is to not hold back. You know, actually women want y'all to open up more. They're probably annoyed you're not, right? Because women, we're natural nurturers and everything, so we can naturally open up to people, and very intuitive, so we can read energy very quickly to see if it's safe enough for us to be able to do that. So, and I know men are wired differently, so you're not just gonna like tell everybody your wants, needs, and desires, right? You know, it can even take you a moment to for you to do that in relationship with somebody. And so if you're willing to do that with your woman, it's actually serving her too, because it's showing that you trust her, that you actually feel safe in this space too, where you can speak up and say this to her and be okay with how she's going to respond. It also can be an example you're setting for the tone of the relationship. Like, I'm going to, you know, speak up, say my wants, and hopefully it will inspire her to do the same. Especially if you have a woman that's a bit more quiet or timid or introverted, she may not even be used to doing this. So you can be an example for her, and she can do it still from her feminine energy and speak about what she wants, what she needs, what she wants in this relationship. And then that can be about service. It doesn't have to be about, oh, I need to state what I want and get it, you know, and have it be from that. Cause that's more from like, I feel like a selfish standpoint. And obviously, I talk about being selfish on this channel, and there's a place for it, right? Being selfish sometimes with our time, with our energy, so that we can take care of ourselves. And I know it's very hard for men to do that because you're always giving, 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 and providing. So there's a time and a place to be selfish. But I think in the world we live in, especially because we can get instant dopamine hits and validation very quickly through technology, through social media, through dating apps, things like that. We don't always think about the other person that's involved because we're so used to getting hit and validated very quickly and have access to that if we wanted it. So reversing that mindset and being able to speak your wants in your masculine energy is something that can serve the relationship. And like I said, you can come to it with, how can I serve my woman in this relationship by doing this, by being willing to have this conversation? Shit, caveman says, shit, I'm an emotional man. I cry. Well, look, not every man does or willing to show that openly to people, caveman. So, you know, I will say you may be rare, but I'm experiencing more men coming to do inner work so that they can unlock that part of themselves and be able to do that. I did DMT and understand what you're saying. Exactly. If you've done plant medicine or any type of medicine from the indigenous in that way, you do have a deeper understanding of what I'm talking about. Like, I may be saying this to another man and it doesn't completely land, but I'm okay with that because maybe he'll plant a seed and he'll come back to another live or go look at a video. So I'm so happy you said that out in the comments, because when you're willing to do that type of deep inner work on yourself, it can bring up so much. So then maybe even that alone, doing your own deeper inner work, will allow you to be able to express yourself where it doesn't have to sound people pleasing or needy, or allow you to express yourself in general in a new way to, you know, to your wife, to your girlfriend, to your woman, to the woman that you're dating. So this can all help serve you while it's serving the relationship. And I'm very much about that on this channel. You know, being in service and not just you coming to dating or being in a relationship with a woman and thinking it's all about you all the time. It's about, no, that's not how a relationship, I feel like, grows and soars and can serve each other individually and together as a, you know, as a couple. I don't care why I cry. Life is crazy. It is. Only way to understand life is to understand the reality you are in right now. So, life is the air you breathe. Absolutely. Absolutely. We're constantly creating. life through not just, air and being reminded of that, but through our words. Our words have vibration. So I feel like when you are connected to your masculinity, especially this is more in a from an emotional intelligence way and from a spiritual standpoint, you're very intentional how you speak to people. You're very intentional with the words you say. You're very intentional whether you're speaking those words to yourself in your thoughts or actually speaking them to yourself and to the words that you're speaking to other people. So, Caveman says every time you breathe in consciousness, which is reality and beyond reality, I feel. So, you know, that's something to take in when you're having a conversation. And like I said, to the point that Caveman make about the breath, that's very important in these types of conversations because it can very quickly get intense and come into like an argument or a healthy debate or like escalate to an argument very quickly, 0 to 100 depending on how your personality types are, if you're aware of your stuff and you've done inner work and or not. So when you're preparing for this conversation, in the conversation and maybe after, connect with your breath. Notice how you're breathing. Maybe you get to slow down so that you're not reacting, and when you breathe and stay calm and calm your nervous system, it helps her to do the same. It actually helps her to relax more in her feminine, and when she's more in her feminine, she will actually hear and receive what you're saying about your wants, your desires, your needs completely different. It'll land on her completely different. She'll hear it different because now she's in a more relaxed, warm, nurturing energy where it's not just go, 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 or let me kind of listen to him and be on my phone, or I got to feed the kids or do dinner, or, she can relax and maybe time will stand still for you all to have this conversation. So what's up, Ron? How are you? Happy to be here. He says, welcome to the conversation. We've kind of gone all over the place in this conversation, but also I've been able to bring it back to the point of the conversation. So welcome, Ron. You got to watch the replay to get a little laughs because we literally started off talking about how to state right your wants, needs, and desires to women without being needy, but it literally went all over the place, to BDSM, to consciousness, to plant medicine. So I love it. Really great conversation today, guys. So thank you so much for showing up and dropping your comments and questions and experiences around your relationship and women in the comments below, because I know that's going to support other men and other people coming into this conversation later. And I guess the last point I want to make, obviously, we talked about the distinction, the difference between being needy versus clear, and then also being willing to state your boundaries when you have these wants and needs and you're talking about them, to state your boundaries within them so that that can show her that you love and respect yourself first and foremost, and these boundaries that you're comfortable with upholding or speaking to her about shows love for the relationship as well. And the third point I want to make before we close it out, we can stay on here and have a little bit more fun. I'm open to both. Is the reason why I say be clear, not only because it takes the riffraff off of you sounding wanting her approval or sounding needy, it also helps to build safety, one, to build trust, to build a deeper level of respect. And I'm saying this, when you speak like that, it allows her to feel these things and to also serve you with trust, with her making an effort to have you feel safe in your masculine in this relationship. And then also her respecting you. Women respect men more who are like clear in their direction, their messaging. their expression. When you're like all over the place or passive, it's like the respect is slowly leaving and going out the window because it makes us feel like you're scattered. We don't feel safe. And then we're like, okay, this dude like doesn't have it together. And I'm not saying you can't have bad days. I'm saying if your energy is naturally like this and this is your pattern in life and with her, right? We're going to instantly be like, okay, what category is he going in? He may not be what I want and or like husband material or partner material of what I'm looking for. So speak with clarity, direct the relationship with clarity. And then if you don't know, look, ask somebody or get some support, whether it's from her or, you know, from another guy that you know that's in a successful relationship. And I'm saying successful with a grain of salt because we're people at the end of the day. It's not going to be perfect. What I mean successful is that you know you've observed that there's a level of trust there, there's safety there, they you know seem to have like a passion between them, they have fun together, you know, you've observed this relationship and you know that this man can like talk to his woman honestly and that he respects her and that you know she's devoted to him, things like that that you measure as successful. But you also know like it's not perfect, like so if you are experiencing you know some discord, it may support you to like get support around that. And that's where like coming to hire a coach or a therapist or you know somebody to help you work through things can have an integral part in your growth and you building your relationship. I can definitely speak to that as an example for myself. If it wasn't for you know me having done therapy for a set amount of years and you know I left that there when it was time. But you know having my own coaches now around business and personal, the work is priceless. It's this type of work is priceless, even if it's just like I said planting the seed now. And you may screw all this up, right? Maybe it's planting the seed now for the next for the relationship you have next. Or maybe it's planting the seed and having you think differently, be willing to see it from a feminine woman's perspective and give you some more insight. Because like I've said this before, women, we aren't simple. We can be very complex, and I don't think you'll ever have us completely figured out, but I'm gonna help to give you some some of the inside scoop and knowledge at least. So I'm saying to make this last point and very much drive this home, men who are clear too is like it's a turn on. Like you want to keep a woman wet, be clear, have purpose, show up, you know, be consistent. Like those are the things that will not have a woman like not dry up because like all of that is compounding. She knows that she's safe. She's taken care of. You got her back. Like right? Even in the rocky challenging times. And if you're not at that point yet where she realizes this, she may at least be thinking about, okay, I'm dating him and John, and Ron is showing up very differently from John. He's clear, he got his shit together, like he makes an effort, he's consistent. You know, all those things build up and helps her to take inventory of that, not just through your words, obviously through your actions. And then she's like, I feel safe. Okay, I want to spend more time with him. I have a great time with him. And I'm trusting him, right? So things like that, I'm saying, like this goes through our mind. We're naturally looking for the strongest out in the jungle. That's just how we're built, you know. Oops, my battery went out. Oh, hey, Ron. So just using Ron as an example since you're here. But if you are struggling with this, or you know a man who's struggling with this, who's more like passive, who can't speak his wants, needs, and desires to his wife, his girlfriend, or just very maybe introverted and has had a hard time doing this, and you know, send him this live. Maybe you'll open up something for him, open up the conversation between you all, you know, as friends. You know, send him the link to the channel. If you know, I know guys don't always go deep with like the issues they're having. But I feel like every man out there at least has like one good friend that you may open up to, right? You open up to him, he opens up to you. If it's not one family person, it's one good friend. Send him this live if you know it's something that will support him and something that he can use. And if, you know, by chance, maybe that's you and you want to go deeper with me, there's an opportunity that I've been saying on some of these lives about booking a one-on-one session with me. I'm calling it the, you know, masculine confidence audit. But it's more about deeper than that, right? Because confidence isn't built in a day. And I also, it's learned though. You can learn it. You know, some men, I guess, maybe they're just born with it. I think it's something you learn and it's modeled for you. And then you learn it and cultivate it for yourself. But it's also something you can still learn and fine tune and master as a man. And so if you feel like this is something you're struggling with, like always being like needy, wanting a woman's validation, you can't express yourself in a grounded, masculine, calm way, then like Ron said, I'm all for empowerment, and empower yourself and book this session with me. 60 minutes, give me 60 minutes of your time and we'll start to unblock things that are blocking you from being confident, but also I make sure you notice the patterns that are showing up, especially in your patterning with women, that solidifies this, not to make it sound like, oh, you're bad, you're wrong, and you did this wrong. No, you see the thread here. This is your pattern. So now that we're aware of your pattern and what's also blocking you, we can shift it on this call just like that. So that's what the basis of it is, so that we can get to the transformation in the call. And so if you want to book that, I'll put the link in the description box below in the replay, because obviously I can't type any comments here. It's so weird. And I'll see you on the next live. If I don't see you on the next live, I've had so much fun with you guys. I love this work. I love serving you in this way. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay masculine out there. Ciao.